13 of our Kali studies. Now, I had a couple questions earlier this week. One of the questions was, does this class bring mantra diksha? Absolutely not. This class is an exploration of the Holy Mother. I am just a child of the Holy Mother doing this in devotion. So I hope that you are enjoying learning these different names and forms and exploring them along with me. So before we get started tonight, let's go ahead and do our 3 cleansing ohms, bring our mind into a centered space, and give salutations to the Holy Mother's son, Ganesha. Bring your hands to heart center. Clear your mind and take a full deep breath in and out. Take another deep breath in. A second one. And a third. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Ekadantaya Vigmahe. Vakratundaya Dhimahi. Tanno Dantihi Prachodayat. Om Namo Bhagavate Ekadamsraya Hastamukaya Lambodharaya Uchista Mahatmane Om Krom Rim Ge Swaha. Jema. All right, so welcome to Tuesday night Kali Maa Studies. And if you've been joining along, you know that we are studying and looking deeper into the 1008 names of the Holy Mother. Tonight we're going to be covering names 94 through 101. So we're 1/10 of the way through. So let's go ahead and take a look at the verse for this evening. And like I do each week, in the description of the video, I post the Sanskrit words that's to the full verse. So tonight's a little bit of a tongue twister, but let's go ahead and take a look. So it's Koṭarākṣī kulaśreṣṭhā mahatī bahubhāṣiṇī sumatiḥ kumatiścaṇdā caṇdamuṇdātiveginī. So we're going to look at names 94 through 101. Good evening, S. Dot. All right, so name number 94, Koṭarākṣī. Koṭarākṣī. Now, when you look in the puja book, the general translation is she whose eyes are infinite. But let's break that word and name and form down a little bit deeper. So Koṭara means the hollow of a tree, and Akshi means eyes. So it's she whose eyes are like the deep hollows of trees. You know, can you imagine the mother looking out at you and seeing that her eyes are very, very deep? Now, Koṭarākṣī is also associated with the untamed nature or the forest, right? Good evening, Kay Prayo. And Kota, just the word Kota, means a fortress or a fortified city or a castle that is well protected. And if we break the word down a little bit differently, Rakshi is also short for Rakshi or protector, guardian. You also see this word used with rakshabandhas, so the threads that we receive during certain rituals and exchanges. That's the thread around the wrist, sometimes around the ankles. That is basically an amulet against misfortune. So when we look at the name Koṭarākṣī, we understand that this is the form of the mother with deep, deep eyes. We know that she can see deep, and she can also see that untamed nature. And there's a protection in that. All right, let's look at name number 95. I'm going to wait to share the pictures that I've pulled aside for this evening. So name number 5, kulaśreṣṭhā. Kulaśreṣṭhā. And this name in the puja books is usually defined as she who is the excellence of an excellent family. But kula, so that can mean family, that can mean clan, that can mean lineage. And kulaśreṣṭhā means an excellent clan, family, or association even. Now, one of the other names, 96, is mahatī. Mahatī. And mahatī is she who has a great mind. Tonight's names are grouped together with different variants of her expression and Kali Maa's mindsets. So mahatī is she who has a great mind. Mahatī means magnificent or excellent wisdom and mental virtues. But then we have the name 97, bahubhāṣiṇī. Bahubhāṣiṇī. And this means she who has various expressions, all sorts of different modes of coming across. But it also means not just like a facial expression or a mood expression, it's also linguistic. So this word bahubhāṣiṇī can also mean multilingual. And, some people, when they're working with different forms of divinity, whether it be the Holy Mother, whether it be Shiva, or even some completely different realm like the Loa. And they'll say, what if I don't know the native tongue language well enough? Well, we know that the Lord, the Holy Mother in particular, understands all languages. But back to bahubhāṣiṇī. This means she who has a varied mind and varied ways of expressing and speaking. Then we start getting into some opposites. So there's sumatiḥ. Sumatiḥ, that's name 96. And if you're just joining in, all the names are in the description every video. And if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe so you can catch all of these. Like I said at the beginning, we're only 1/10 of the way in. Anyways, sumatiḥ, she who has an excellent mind, she who is wise, pious, good, and auspicious. Now, in the Kalki Purana, Sumati is the mother of Kalki, and Kalki is the incarnation, manifestation of Vishnu that comes in the Kali Yuga. We're in the Kali Yuga now, the era of darkness and depravity. And Sumati is Kalki's mother. And this is said that because of her wiseness and virtuousness, her son, who is actually Vishnu, come back, will bring forth the Sat Yuga, the Yuga of truth, righteousness, and correctness again. But then we see these opposites, and we'll look a little deeper. So name 99 is kumatiḥ. So we had sumatiḥ, now we have kumatiḥ. And this is generally defined as she who has a devious mind. And kumatiḥ actually goes deeper. It can mean evil or bad, ku, Ku is evil or bad or undesirable. And mati is mind, intelligence, just like sumati, excellent mind. Kumati is often seen as bad mind or devious mind or distorted, wrong thinking, illusion, or even maliciously minded, or even acting like a fool. Now, before I explain this oppositeness, I want to go a little bit further. So in the Bhagavad Gita, kumatihi, there's a um, person in the Bhagavad Gita, one of the sacred scriptures, named Kumati. And she's the wife of a very greedy Brahmana by the name of Kushabha. And Kumati and her husband were considered super, super greedy. Like they would take, but never gave back. So they were actually cursed to be reborn as what are called Brahma Rakshasas. Did I say that correctly? Rakshasas. Rakshasas. And these are very powerful, hungry ghosts. So they were cast out to be hungry, thirsty, and needy ghosts in their next lifetime. So, long story short, Kumantihi actually saw and recalled half of one of the verses in the Bhagavad Gita, and that created the liberation. So they were able to be a favorable rebirth. Anyways, back to Kumantihi. I want to take a particular note tonight that sometimes if we just take word for word and translate name and form individually rather than in the whole verse context, we can kind of get out of line with our understanding. So this portion of the verse has several words in a row. Sumatihi, kumatihi, excuse me, kumatiścaṇdā, caṇdamuṇdātiveginī. So we don't want to just take one name and form out of context and say, oh, that's the name of the Holy Mother who acts like a fool. That's not how we want to look at it. So let's look at the next couple words. There's only two more names of the Holy Mother for this particular verse, and then go back and look at them again. So name 100 is Caṇdā. Caṇdā. And Caṇdā is well known for passion. She who is passion, or fierce, or violent, even impetuous, or enraged. So, this whole verse is the various mindsets. But when we look at the final name, caṇdamuṇdātiveginī, all one word, all one name. This is she who destroys passion, one who destroys negativity, one who destroys mean and improper behavior. So we know Caṇdā means fierce and that Munda is negative. But when we look at the name Chamunda, instead of breaking it completely down, Chamunda, we covered in name 62, and that means she who moves in the paradigm of consciousness. And then we add the last part of that name, Ativegini, which means she who destroys with great speed. So when we look at all of these words put together, Koṭarākṣī, she has deep, deep eyes like the hollow of a tree. Kulaśreṣṭhā, she comes from an excellent line. Matihi, she's very wise. Bahubhāṣiṇī, with a multitude of expressions. Sumatiḥ, very auspicious mind expression. Kumatiḥ, devious, and Caṇdā, passionate, but caṇdamuṇdātiveginī, the one who swiftly destroys the mental paradigms and constraints. So Kali Maa transcends these states of mind. Now, I wanted to go a little bit deeper into Caṇdamuṇdā. We talked about Caṇdamuṇdā in name 64. Caṇdamuṇdā is one of the matrikas, and those are like the 7 forms of the Holy Mother that came out during this very specific battle. And she symbolizes divine wrath, divine destruction. And it's necessary destruction to facilitate rebirth, renewal, recycling. And Caṇdamuṇdā, when we see her, she is extremely swift, hence the name caṇdamuṇdātiveginī, very swift. She is typically seen sitting on a corpse, or she might be sitting on what they call a vanquished demon. She's also seen sitting on a wild dog, and every once in a while you'll see her sitting on an owl. She's classically holding a human skull bowl, usually full of blood, so it's always red inside. And she's often holding a snake, a drum, those double-sided drums that Shiva has, the damaru. And she's often holding what's called a mace or skull mace. And sometimes it has 3 heads on it. One that is freshly severed, one that is in a partial state of decomposition, and one that is a skull with all the flesh decomposed. And we also see her holding things like a sword, a bell, a thunderbolt, and then, of course, the classic mudras, abhaya, not to fear, as well as the Varada mudra for granting boons. Now, when we see Caṇdamuṇdā, we usually see her with a very skeletal face, skeletal body, emaciated, ribs showing, stomach sunken in, eyes sunken in, like our first name in this series, with the eyes sunken in like the hollow of a tree. And she's usually not dressed. Maybe she'll have a red thread on, sometimes a tiger skin, sometimes an elephant hide. And typically her adornments, she has matted hair. Sometimes she's covered in scorpions, and other times you'll see her with an accompaniment of undesirable company of ghosts, goblins, jackals, and demons. And when we see Caṇdamuṇdā, she's said to protect the southwest direction. Now, Caṇdamuṇdā, I went through a big phase with Caṇdamuṇdā, so I wanted to share some pictures because all of our names tonight are pointing towards her and her sunken eyes, her swiftness to break apart the paradigms of the mind. So this is one of the pictures that I wanted to share tonight. I have to put a sticky note there so I don't get censored because that happens. Anyways. You can see here she's got the classic long tongue, and she's often seen with long fingernails and sunken eyes. This was a more close-up that I drew of her with the skeletal face and the sunken eyes. And, I was very taken by these sunken hollow tree eyes. So her head adornment ended up having the same types of eyes. And of course, she has that classic protruding tongue always. I wanted to share a couple other ones. This was another one that I did at the same time, sticky note, so I don't get censored. Anyways, so again, she had the sunken eyes, and she's often seen with long fingernails and skeletal body. So I did my best to draw what I saw in meditation of the skeleton bones. And then one more I wanted to share. This one was also right about that same time. Anyways, we all see the mother in different ways. And one of the best ways that I have found is, to read these names and forms, to understand what do the names represent. And then close your eyes and meditate on that name Ask the mother, please come to me, show me your tremendous beauty, your tremendous awe, and may I have a glimpse of you. And it will happen if you meditate long enough. Trust me, it'll happen. So I hope you enjoyed these names and forms tonight. And, as a summary, we have the mother with the deep, deep hollowed eyes. We have the mother who is from an excellent line with an excellent wise mind and a multitude expressions, and the swift destroyer of different mental and conscious paradigms, whether it be transcending modes of excellence, which why would you want to transcend excellence? But sometimes we get really caught up in our mind about wanting to be, perfect and presented just right. And sometimes we're going to break through that too. And then sometimes we have to transcend past the devious mind or feeling like a fool even. So I hope you've enjoyed this evening. I'll be back next Tuesday, same time, 6 p.m. Pacific Coast time. I always put the names in the description with the verse. And until we meet again, Kali Maa.